Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, happy Thanksgiving if you're in the United States, and if you're not, I hope you're having a good day filled with thanks. And speaking of thanks, and that's what you get, now that you're in the fifth dimension, I have mentioned that you are able to create your world with your thoughts. That includes your words, your out loud words, what you say into the atmosphere. It's coming much more rapidly now. Our ability to manifest with our thoughts and our words, and sometimes with our deeds, and or a combination of any two of those. What did I say to you guys like 2-3 days ago? I said, boy, they show up to do the work on the road in the morning when people are trying to go to work. They're loud, they're obnoxious, the jackhammers and whatnot. And everyone's late for work. It's a big pain in the butt, and they should do it at night. Well, guess what they're doing? We got home from our Thanksgiving dinner and looked out the window because there was a bunch of fireworks. A lot of fireworks here. Love fireworks. And the crew was setting up the orange pylons across the street. And they'd already worked on the road over there. Now I guess it needs more work or something. Set up the pylons, and now they are going to town. I bet if I look out there right now, there'll be a oil barrel. And underneath the oil barrel will be tar. Tar's in the oil barrel. Underneath that will be just a burning sticks in the road, like a little campfire. And then above that is the oil barrel filled with tar, and that's how they burn the tar here. It's extremely simple, but it's efficient. They don't have a giant truck with burning tar in it, like in the United States. It's different, a little bit, at least for this project. But here they are working all night, I guess, in the road, after I said the other day they should do this at night. It makes more sense, because people are already home and they're not going to work, and most people here work during the day. So be careful what you ask for, babe. You just might get it. You just might get it now that you're more powerful. Your words have more power here in the fifth dimension. So, how was your Thanksgiving, guys? I know that if you were in San Bernardino County in California, I know if you were anywhere near the Grapevine, oh, forget about fires. That was yesterday's news. Today there's snow. Snow blocking the Grapevine. I don't know if they reopened the roads, but this afternoon I read that. I went, oh my God. If it's not one thing, it's your mother. Or the lack of seeing your mother, for the fact that the road is closed and you can't get to your Thanksgiving holiday feast dinner disappointment thing. I don't know. Oh God. My friend sent me pictures from Rockefeller Center in New York, where he goes every year. I told him, I don't think I could go watch the people skating happy, hand in hand, watching them decorate, getting ready for the tree lighting ceremony, which I believe it's like tomorrow, isn't it? or Saturday maybe. I'm like looking at this just going, that would make me so depressed if I was completely single, because all the romantic movies about New York I've ever seen, holiday movies, they all have the obligatory Rockefeller Center scene. And it's oh so romantic, and that's where they fall in love, They get a little snow on their nose. Ooh, they're cold. They get hot chocolate together, arm in arm. They try to ice skate. They fall on their asses. They fall all over each other, and their faces meet, and oh, they're going to fall in love. It doesn't ever really happen in real life like that. I mean, if you're ice skating and you fall, the first thing you need to do is get out of the way of the skater behind you, because their blade can slice off a finger or an ear. No lie, I mean, it's scary out there. I grew up in Minnesota, at least part of my childhood, and we had it so cold that we would strap on our ice skates and skate down the street to the skating rink. And before the boys came to play hockey, my brother and I would toss a puck around with the sticks, try to score on each other, trying to get, the puck into the net. And then the big boys would come and say, "We don't want to hurt you. Girls aren't allowed on the ice during our games." All right, fine. I don't want to get hit in the face with a hockey puck, trust me. Oh my God, it flies across the ice at up to 90 miles an hour in the professional games. So, but this time of year, like in Minnesota, there's a lot of snow, a lot of ice. They water down that rink real nice, and overnight you've got some pretty sweet skating rinks. The girls' skating rinks, girls' skating rinks on the other side of the ice clubhouse, and we had probably 2 to 3 feet of snow piled up on all 4 sides, completely packed. And then they put the water just in the middle of the snow. And so if you're ice skating around and you fall on the edge of the rink, you're just falling into a pile of snow, which is actually pretty fun. But if you're in the boys section, it was a nice, neat, fenced off hockey rink, all outside, 100%, except for the clubhouse, which is like a little tiny shack with, sometimes they had, snacks, and sometimes it was just a place to warm up. They had like a space heater. It was really actually pretty cold. It was 40 below zero Fahrenheit, pretty freaking cold. Water freezes at 32 degrees above zero if you're on the Celsius system, like everyone in the whole planet except my country. So, it's like 70 degrees below where it needs to freeze. And so it was very cold there. But my brother and I have some really strange memories, just wearing these one-piece suits, basically, and skating ourselves down to the rink and just screwing around every Saturday. That's what we did. We'd stay inside most of Sunday because Saturday was enough. It gets pretty cold and the wind gets pretty whippy, and it whips your face into a beet red state that stays that way for up to weeks, actually. And I had permanent frostbite on my right hand between my thumb and my index finger. Like for years, it was just like a red mark. Every time the winter come around, there it comes, right now. And I had that, but this is the time of year, it's cold. Except in the Carolinas, I heard today, or maybe it was Georgia, somewhere on the southeast coast of the U.S., it was a heat wave, record heat. Whereas in Colorado and California, record cold. I don't know. It's just, everything is so crazy. It's like way different than it used to be when I was a kid. But hey, it is what it is. I hope that you guys had a good Thanksgiving if you're from the United States. My son and I had a traditional Thanksgiving, and by that we mean we were stressed out about what to wear. We were stressed out about how to get there because we had an incomplete address. We got into a tiff for about 5 minutes in the taxi on the way over because you have to have an obligatory fight on the holiday of Thanksgiving, which nobody really likes. It's kind of a lame holiday. It's because some Protestants got rescued by natives or they would have died. And so it's like celebrating the hospitality of the natives who we later forced into, I shouldn't say we because I am part Cherokee as well, but they force into reservations and create a whole another set of regulations and rules for them and laws. If you have a private property anywhere in the U.S., out in the countryside, you have a tar paper shack, and you go, well, I'm going to burn it in a controlled burn and then rebuild a new one. No one's going to say 2 words to you, but if you're on Native American land, 100 years in prison. Even if it's your part of the reservation, it's your land, it's your tar paper shack, it was a controlled burn and you're going to build a new one. If you get caught, 100 years in prison. Federal prison. The laws are 100%. Like, my oldest son and I were having a conversation about Leonard Peltier, who's running from prison, where he's been for, close to, 40, 50 years? I have to look it up. He's been in jail for federal prison, for a long, 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 long time. He was the leader of the American Indian movement, AIM, AIM, and what he did was, he said, you know what, screw it, we're tired of this. We're tired of being treated like second-class citizens in a country that is legally and rightfully ours. They came and took over our lands and threw us on these reservations and threatened to kill us and killed a bunch of us. Smallpox, blankets, and the like. And so basically, he said he was tired of it. He wanted to take over. He was on his own private land, but he wanted to start taking back the natural native lands. So he went ahead and got a bunch of people that wanted to do the same thing. They were dedicated to this. And they said, the federal government, this is the land, we're taking it over. This is where we belong. This is where our ancestors lived. This is our sacred space. And if you come on our land, we'll fire upon you, so please don't come on our land. So he just went down the store to grab a loaf of bread and, maybe some tomatoes, maybe bacon for BLT, something like that. I don't know what he's buying. Pack of cigarettes, beer, whatever. I don't know. He just ran down to the, market. While he was gone, some FBI agents came on the land, and the people were told, to warn them several times, but then fire if they come too close. They tried to start trouble. So they were fired upon, and 2 FBI agents died. Leonard Peltier comes home and finds 2 dead agents on his land, and he's like, oh my God. And he's been in jail for 50 years, and he didn't do it, and he wasn't even there. But because he was the leader of the movement, that's the technicality they got him on, so they just wanted to make an example. Don't go up against, the rich, white penis club, basically. Oh, I should say straight, white, rich penis club, because that's really kind of what it is, isn't it? The immoral majority. But the thing is, see, now you can hear this. There's motorcycles trying to get past the guys doing the road. So we're going to have all kinds of fun noises in the background of this one. But this point my son and I were talking about is, if you took a gun and you shot someone and they died, 25 years in prison, 25 to life. But you could get out in 25 years if you have good behavior. If you're Native American and you're not even there, and someone on your land kills somebody else on your land, you go to jail for 50 years. How does it make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm glad to find out he is running as vice president. I'm not saying he's going to win or anything, but I'm like, that's a bold move. If I mean, heck, if you did win, the person who becomes president gets to pardon you. Finally. It's been taken to every president since he was put in prison. Even President Obama, who did consider it, in the end said no, forget it. He was responsible for the death of 2 FBI agents. But it's like they knew what was going to happen. They were told what was going to happen. They went on the land anyway. They were warned several times. You know, I'm not saying it's the FBI agent's fault, but I mean, you're playing with fire, you're going to get fired upon, you know? It's just the way it is. And the whole situation's messed up. But let's see. I'm trying to look and see what my Gloria La Riva and Leonard Peltier are running on the platform of socialism for 2020. So that's what my son told me today. I'm like, wow, that's interesting information. I did not know that. It's interesting. I mean, if you know who gets impeached, the giant peach gets impeached, we, you know, can be a little bit, I won't say lackadaisical about who we vote for, but I mean, you know, probably should vote for the Democrats even if we're not. I'm a Green Party member, but it's just been the stakes have been just too high lately, and I don't like to get into politics at all. And that's what you should avoid, of course, at dinner with Thanksgiving folks, you know. So yeah, back to our Thanksgiving our Thanksgiving evening. There were 4 potential places we could have gone to for Thanksgiving, and one of them was it was expensive. It was like $25 or $30 to have a plate of food. Drinks were all extra, and then you were forced to give money to a charity on top of the dinner, and then forced to give $5 to the people who are going to be performing live music. And so I was like, you know, it's like $45 or something for like a normal Thanksgiving dinner, and you know, plus music. And then of course some of it's going to charity, and it's a charity that we do plan to support anyway. I'm like, I don't know, you know, see what else is out there, right? Then there was the gourmet meal that was $45 a head, and you got to meet them downtown, and they take a bus out, and you have to pre-order your cocktails. So it sounded like, and they had like a huge list of cocktails available. I'm like, my kid is 17, and even though we would be very tempted to go out of town and get very drunk with a bunch of strangers, and it sounds like just loads of fun, I looked at their menu, and it was like, you know, this is too much off the beaten path, you know? It was just like, you know, some of the stuff was normal, like turkey, of course, but then, you know, like I told you guys before, it's like pumpkin flavored cheesecake, and it's like, no, yeah, pumpkin pie is where it's at, man. On Thanksgiving, you gotta have that, right? And they didn't even have sweet potatoes. And then I think part of their menu, this is probably the clincher for me, was green bean casserole. And I was just like, ack. I had that a couple times at the church potlucks when I was growing up, and it was like my stepmom forced me, eat your greens, and she piles it on. You can't see the greens for all the gravy on top. And then she says it's really good because it has the jerky or whatever. I don't even know if that's the right word, but like some kind of the shaken potatoes on top is crushed potato chips on top of green beans smothered in some kind of like a gray colored gravy. And sometimes it has mushrooms in it. I'm like, oh my God, that's like the most disgusting thing. You know, my Thanksgiving dinners that I made for my kids when they were young and everyone was solid and stable and happy, I made them steamed broccoli and steamed green beans and yams, like the orange sweet potatoes. But I did, for that, I put pineapple and I put marshmallows, because you have to have marshmallows. So it's kind of campfire-y smell. I love that, like that thing, right? Ironically, made that in Paradise for them every year. Not going there. Sorry, hashtag too soon, even though it's been more than a year. That one's going to hurt forever, I'm sure of it. But, and cranberry. And I did my cranberry sauce from fresh cranberries I got in the bag. I came home and spent a couple hours making the cranberry sauce. And sometimes I'd have mandarin oranges and pineapple in it too. And it was pretty good. I mean, we really had a good time. The kids helped me make it sometimes. And I tried to make it healthy, but then I'd put a ton of butter in the mashed potatoes, because you just have to. Butter and milk, like crazy amounts of it. But, I remember doing that. But, so, I don't know, but just a pumpkin cheese cake and the gravy-covered I couldn't do it. Yuck. And plus all the cocktails. Do I really want to be around a bunch of old drunks? Do I really want to? So I didn't. And for $90, is it really worth it? I don't know. If I become rich in the next year, maybe we'll do it next year. But when my son is legally able to drink, when he's 18. But still, I don't want to encourage that. So, And then the third one was, this guy was going to do the same thing, like take a group of people by private tour bus out to his land and catch the sunset overlooking the valley in the Andes Mountains, and menu and instructions and details to follow, which never followed. Late last night, I think, or maybe it was yesterday, he put a thing saying, he didn't even say it himself, and I wrote him several times. He never answered me, and then it said, and Mike Wagner will be doing his thing at his restaurant. And I'm like, what? Actually, he didn't even put it. Someone said, here's a list of all the restaurants doing Thanksgiving. At the last minute, last night, I already had reservations for the place we ended up going to. And it was like a list of like 7 different restaurants doing Thanksgiving at the last minute. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So we had like 11 or 12 options, but we were only told about 4 3 weeks ago, and said it's going to fill up fast. And the place we went, they were seating people every 30 minutes from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and they were absolutely packed. Except, we had reservations, so we had table. But it was kind of like so awkward because, okay, have you ever like gotten to a Thanksgiving dinner and you're kind of like, I'm looking forward to the holidays. I don't always agree with, Uncle Billy on this thing or Aunt Edna, but we're family. We got to get along and everything's good. And this year it's going to be different. It's like Charlie Brown and Lucy and that damned football. It's okay, Charlie Brown. You can trust me. I'm not going to remove the football this year. You can kick it. It's going to go so high. It's going to go flying, and it's going to be glorious. You can trust me, Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown takes off running, and as he takes off running, he's getting more and more excited. He's determined she's not moving the football. She's going to do it. She's going to keep her word this time. And then, bow! She moves the football at the last minute. He flies up in the air, comes down in a loud thud, and whomp! Hurts his back, and he's laying there going, why? Oh, why did I trust her again this time? That's how I feel about how Thanksgiving is. It's like one of those meals that if you make it at home with for your own family, your immediate family, like the 2 or 3 people, and you see these people every day and you love them every day and you're thankful for them every day. And then you make this big meal and you work and work and work and work and work and work. $150 later, you got all the ingredients after going all over town, fighting the crowds, fighting the traffic, paying extra for the taxi because of the traffic, or gas if you have a car. I mean, all that. You go through so much for one freaking meal. You spend 2 days preparing it. And then you're stuck eating the same food over and over and over and over again for the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how big a turkey you bought. And I don't mind it. I mean, I thought for a while I might actually make a cookbook about all the ways that you can make the leftover turkey. I mean, I was making Mexican food with it. You know, I mean, my husband was making the mashed potatoes the next day. That turns into potato pancakes. You know, he's like, I think he had a Polish recipe, and later my youngest son learned how to make latkes from, you know, I think it's a Jewish tradition, or I mean Israeli maybe, I don't know where that comes from, but it wasn't Polish. But so it's like we've had a lot of different, we try to pull, you know, recipes from all over the world, you know. Some of it turns into Indian food, you know. But and the cranberry sauce, that becomes our jelly for our morning toast with bacon and eggs in the morning. I mean, we really had it down. You know, we had the routine down, what we're gonna do with the leftovers, and we were really looking forward to it. And we would end up freezing most of it, and a couple months later we would get back into it and go, oh, let's have turkey dinner again tonight. But that disappointment feeling that comes after the meal, it's like, you know, this kind of isn't, it's good, but it's only good because I think it's nostalgic. And you eat it and you're like, this feels kind of gross, dude. Like all the gravy, like, oh my God, it's like so much starch. It's like, why do we have to have 2 kinds of potatoes? And today we did not have corn, but that's always been tradition in my family to have the corn and the potatoes and the other kind of potatoes. And sometimes there's a sweet potato pie as well as a pumpkin pie. Sometimes it's mixed. You know, usually I make pumpkin pie, but my girlfriend Vera, when we went to her house for Thanksgiving, her sweet potato pie cannot be beaten. I mean, everyone in the world, just give it up. I mean, seriously, her pie's best. And I ought to call her, actually, I'll probably call her tomorrow or Saturday. But, I mean, oh lordy, her pie was so good. So rich. But, there's something about you know, like I baked pumpkin pies for my Saudi Arabian friends. I told them exactly what's in it. I said, look, it's like a squash, it's a vegetable, and it's this, and they kept the pumpkin pie. My friend Jihad kept the pumpkin pie on his counter for about a week, and when I wasn't looking, he threw it away. I saw his trash. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, I think it went bad. I'm like, well, did you try it? I brought you the whipped cream. I told you everything. He's like, no. Yeah, no. I wasn't going to eat that. You know, and it was like to see it from an outsider's eyes. It's like, you know, it is kind of gross looking, isn't it? It smells weird. It does look gross, right? I mean, for me, I cannot get enough pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie so much. It's the best. And my pumpkin pie is really good. But there's something about the meal. It's weird, right? And it's like when everything runs together on the plate, it gets so gross. And you're just like, ew. There's like a weird disappointment energy to it. So anyway, so we get there. We get to the restaurant, and we couldn't find it. It was like really ridiculous. We had to walk because it was like, you know, on a one-way street. It was already $4.50 for the taxi, which was also ridiculous. This is way on the other side of town. I thought it was right downtown, and it wasn't. I thought for sure I'd been to this place. I'm like, I'm getting a weird feeling. I feel like I've never been to this part of town, and then it felt like I was in part of Lima for a minute, and I got that weird disoriented feeling. And then as we're walking home, I'm like, I have never been to this place, and yet I have a memory of having been here. So like I'm somehow remembering the future, and the timeline is warbling. And I was feeling really strange about that. And I get up there, and it was on top of Fabiano's, which is one of my favorite restaurants. But Fabiano's that I know is downtown. So I'm like, wait a minute, how is this possible? So that was freaking me out a little bit. Like, I didn't know they had 2 locations, and they're so excellent. Really good Italian food. So I'm like, okay, that was weird. But we get up there, and it's a sports bar and grill restaurant. which I thought it was a coffee house because it's called Common Grounds. Makes sense it would be a coffee house, right? Oh, Common Grounds. Oh, you play sports on grounds. Oh, and then the commonalities that you all like sports. Duh, I just got that now. 3 weeks later. Okay, all right. Well, I didn't know it was a sports place until tonight. So, it was a pretty cool place, actually, and the owner is very sweet. But the thing was, we walked in, and we were completely invisible for like, it might have only been 2 minutes, but it felt like freaking 20. And we're just like waving our limbs, and people are walking by us like we're ghosts. And we're like, hello? And no one could hear us. My son and me, both of us. And we were like invisible, like literally invisible. Like we're in the fifth dimension looking at these people in the third dimension who can't freaking see us. That's what it felt like. And we were like, this is really weird. Where do we stand? Where do we go? There was no place to be seated because it's a sports bar and grill. They don't have a please wait to be seated, sit on this bench type of thing. And we were like, this is really strange. What do we do? What do we do? And when we got there, there was these massive tables, like really long tables, shoved together communal style. And we were like, that's nice. We're going to be seated with us. We're going to be able to get to know other gringos. On the way in, my son kind of looked at me and rolled his eyes. He goes, look at that. And there's a sign that says, every Tuesday, Gringo Bingo. And the name of the place is all in English, so it's obviously a place for gringos, for expatriates, run by an Ecuadorian man who spoke perfect English. So, cool place. But we're like, it's a gringo hangout we had never heard of. We'd heard of it, but we'd never been there. And so there's all these communal style tables, and then there was one tiny table away from everybody, and my son and I got seated at that table. And it felt like being ignored. When they finally saw us, they sat us at the tiny table. They gave us an option to get a bench and a table that would awkwardly be in the walking aisle between the exit and everyone else. You know, and it was these these weird pink benches, like kind of mauve pink benches. And then we would be sitting next to each other, facing all the people that we're not sitting with. And we thought, well, no, let's just take this table here. And so it felt like we're at the kids' table. So we're ignored, and then when we're finally, we weren't ignored, we were invisible. It wasn't like they purposely ignored us because they didn't see us at all. And then when we finally were like, hi, and we asserted ourselves, finally, she was like, oh, hi, almost like a little bit of a startle. Like, where the hell did we come from? I think we were in the fifth dimension, dropped down to the third. It was so insane. So, and then we get seated at the awkward, weird little table away from all the taller, bigger. We were like literally at the kids' table. I'm like, our night was so strange and so awkward, and it felt like all the strange and weird elements of Thanksgiving. Well, it didn't go away because we went to another continent. We had all the elements. So there was sports playing in the background, football on massive TV. People were talking very, very loudly. They all seemed to be enjoying themselves a great deal. They all ignored us as well. We waved to people and smiled with them, and they didn't really say hi. And we just felt like really weird and isolated, like uncomfortable. Like maybe we should have just not done this. And my son said, to be honest with you, I was having more fun binge watching The Good Place and laughing our asses off and hanging out together was more of a genuine experience than being put in a room full of people that you might have stuff in common with, but you never know because you're seated at a table away from everybody else. And we're looking at groups of there was like 100 people there, and no one said hi to us. And we couldn't say hi to them because we're so far away, but we waved, we smiled. And finally at the end, when we're paying, one man finally acknowledged we were there and smiled at us. And we smiled back, and that was kind of like cool. The owner himself, sweet as could be, absolutely amazing, sweet person. Made sure, he said, oh, I hope that you enjoyed the meal, la la la, you know, very sweet. And when we were leaving, a woman and her 2 daughters came, so we think she is a single mother, and her young daughters, they moved to Ecuador, and I think I've seen them before, somewhere, I don't know where, and I don't really know them, I didn't talk to them before, but we walked over and said, hey, happy Thanksgiving to them, and they were really like relieved that somebody else spoke to them. So we're like, yeah, okay, it is stressful. You know, you're foreigners in a new land and no one's talking to you from your own country. It's like, now if you're in California and people talk to you, they're weird. What the hell's wrong with them, right? But when you're strangers in a strange land, usually, like, there's other places in town where you can go and the people are so friendly. They hug you. Oh, hi, my name is Beverly. I'm just so happy to meet you. And they'll hug you. Maybe a little bit awkwardly too long, but it feels so good because it's like you're hugging a long lost aunt or something, you know. And hi, I'm Gary, and this is my brother Steve, and we're happy to meet you. You know, like, people are so friendly. And then tonight, it was not that way, and nobody was there that we recognized, you know. Until the very end, we'd already paid, we're already leaving, and I run into this woman named Kimberly, who I met at the writers' conference. She's an author like me, so we're writers, you know, so we're like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. So it was nice to at least find one friendly face out of like 120 people or whatever that was there. Maybe it wasn't even that many, it just felt like that many. The place was huge. The place I thought it was would fit inside that place 4 times. I mean, the place I thought it was very small. I'm like, oh, no wonder they need reservations. It's such a tiny place. But I remember Christian's a nice guy, runs a place with his sister. I get there, it's like not even the same street, not in the same place. Am I in a different timeline? Am I just losing my damn mind? I swear to God, there was another place called Common Grounds downtown in a whole different street, a whole different setup. And the guy was shorter and a little thinner than the guy that we met. You know, it's like, I know it's not the same guy at all. It's not the same anything at all. But ironically, it still had the red brick walls and heavy wooden furniture, kind of the same vibe. It was so weird. It was very, very weird. The place I thought it was artistic and artsy and candles on the tables and low-level lighting and no TVs. But our cognitive filtering started to break down about minute 20. And we were just like, I think it's the energy of the TVs. We're not used to having satellite dish TV, energy all around us, coming at us from every direction, showing us different kinds of sports and advertisements for Target, which isn't even in Ecuador. It's like they're literally using satellite dishes to beam in the United States TV stations. And they're talking about the Black Friday sale and all the consumerism, and we're like, oh my God. It got to a point where my son and I are like, well, no one's talking to us. They seated us away like at the kids' table. This is like super socially awkward and weird. We felt strange. My son's like, he couldn't eat his food. He's like, I'm going to take this to go. They gave him a beer. They gave me a glass of wine that came with the dinner. So we drank that, and he's like, we finished I finished my meal, but he took his to go. He's like, I can't even eat this. He's like, I've never been in a place and felt, filled with gringos that speak my language and felt so awkward and uncomfortable and invisible and so lonely. I'm like, that's exactly how I feel too. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it was horrible. The energy of it. The food itself was good. The servers were really sweet. We left them a tip. I mean, the owner was amazing. I mean, the restaurant staff were impeccable, and the place itself was a little awkward to have a Thanksgiving dinner, but that's okay. It would have been nicer to have all the TVs off or playing, holiday music. They had promised that we're going to have holiday music, and I don't know, maybe they played earlier, but they didn't play while the whole hour and a half we were there. And then we kept thinking that was going to happen, and it didn't. It was very weird. again, another gringo event that turned extremely awkward for us. And I don't know, is it just that my son and I are working on ourselves so much spiritually that we literally have zero in common with other people? Were they all in the third dimension? They all seem very sweet. Maybe they're in the fifth dimension too, but unaware of it. Obviously, I think we're all in the fifth dimension, but I feel like they were absolutely unaware of it. I think our vibe was higher or something. Is that repulsive to sleeping people? I don't know. My near twin Jude was writing me for the past 2 days going, I'm just going to sleep. For literally the next 4 days, I'm going to just take sleeping pills and sleep all day long, all night long. Get through this stupid weekend. I hate this weekend. I'm like, just, what? Give your husband money to come home on a bus and go home. You'll have a much better time by yourself. They're mistreating him. They're making fun of his tattoo. It's just awkward. And, other people I've talked to are having awkward, yucky times. I'm sorry about that, guys. I think that there's going to be the awkwardness. And I kind of feel like now, yesterday I was talking about being accepting and stuff. But now I'm thinking, this year, if you were mistreated at Thanksgiving, if people were looking at you and seeing that you're a 51-year-old adult or even a 30-year-old adult and they're still seating you away from everyone else and putting you at the kids' table, it's time to never ever go back there again. If they're making fun of something that is a part of your personality, if they don't approve and they're loudly whispering in another room right next to you, where it's like super, super obvious, if they're screaming at you and screaming and yelling. My family used to get in screaming matches. There's always one or two every single Thanksgiving because everyone has low blood sugar. Everyone's freaking out. You can't eat. And you reach for one Hawaiian roll. You're hoping they're not going to notice, that there's going to be one Hawaiian roll missing with the butter. And you get your hands slapped and you haven't eaten all day. Then your favorite cousin comes home and hands you candy. And you're like, yeah, it's something. It makes your blood sugar worse. And then you're in a worse mood. And then you finally eat the turkey way too much. And then you get so tired you're in turkey coma. And now you can't get away even though you want to because you're too tired. And everyone falls asleep on the couch. And finally, there's no gossip. Finally. There's no fighting. Finally, the men have stopped drinking because they've got their hand down their pants because they're trying to get their waistband to stretch out. I mean, that was my experience. I don't know if you guys have the same one, but finally the game is over. Finally, the Twilight Zone marathon is on. Or the Three Stooges, or I Love Lucy. I don't care. All three of those are my favorites. Favorite part of the day is just, I like turkey. Turkey's cool. The rest of it's kind of weird. It's really weird food. I like it because it's nostalgic, but I don't think I like it because it's good. It's not something that, in May or June I go, what we really need to do is fire up a turkey and do the Thanksgiving feast, Not once have my kids ever said, you know what I really miss? I know it's February, but we need to do turkey again. No. Like, seriously, it's like once a year is enough, and I don't know why. It's like it's good, but it's not good. I don't know. We had good. I mean, he found pumpkin. He made pumpkin pie. It was a really weird color. I don't know why. I think it's a different kind of squash that's almost like a pumpkin here. But it was good. It tasted exactly the same. He had nutmeg and he had cinnamon. It was good. It wasn't like my pie, of course. Everyone's is a little bit different, but it was pretty damn close, and it was very good. I mean, but the pieces were teeny, teeny, tiny. They gave us 1 teaspoon of cranberry sauce. So you get the equivalent of 2 cranberries. It was a good meal, but it was just like, I would have liked to have less gravy all over everything, including the cranberry sauce. It's just, like your half-blind old auntie serving you, and you let her because it might be the last time you ever see her, so she pours a gravy over everything. You're like, oh my God, I don't like gravy. thank you, Aunt Edna, or whatever, it's just the way it is. It's just, it's kind of like that. They're serving you, so you're like, all right, fine. Last year, I made my son cranberry sauce out of blackberries and cranberry juice mixed with honey and pineapple, and I mixed it, and I did a good job. It tasted almost identical to cranberry sauce. It was very close. But I did it with moras, which is blackberries, fresh blackberries that grow everywhere here. And so we did that. We roasted a chicken, and I put the spices that you put on turkey on the chicken. And I'm like, okay, it's almost, and we put a lot of sage on it. I'm like, it's not turkey, but it tastes like a turkey. And I did a whole chicken. Normally we just get pieces of chicken when we cook for ourselves, but so I did the best I could. I did, the corn and the fresh broccoli and the green beans, just steamed, healthy. And I did a good meal last year, and I think next year I'll probably do a meal for us at home, or I might actually take us to one of the more fancy, snobbier, drunkier ones, or we might not. We might do one for ourselves, but it was just awkward. The whole night was so awkward. We were just halfway through, we were just feeling so lonely and so sad, and we're just kind of looking at each other, and I'm like, I'm glad we're together. But, my son's like, I wish I had someone here with me. Like a date or something, or someone that I was maybe not in a date situation, but like someone that I was already in a relationship with, that I already loved. It would have been nice to have more loved ones here. And I said, yeah, I wish I had someone like that too. I wish I had someone that was like family, that I loved so much I was in a relationship with, and it's like family already. We just kind of, and then plus we missed my oldest son as well, because, it's just hard to be away from people that you really love for the holidays. And this is the first Thanksgiving without Amber, who every single year would send me messages and telling me and the kids that she loves us every single year. She never forgot. Not since the children were born, not since before, since the day I met her. Not one year went by without her telling me on New Year, or on, Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving, all the big ones. So it's hard to be away from, it's hard when people pass and now you can't even hear how much they love you. And it's like, oh man, I really, really, miss them and my people. It's hard to be away from my kid. It's not our first Thanksgiving away from each other. It's our second, but it's still hard. I mean, he's 19 years old. He left home when he's 18, and he's almost 20. It's like hard. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Now they're working on the road even louder. It's like, oh yeah, just on time, right on schedule. Anyway, so if you had a disappointing Thanksgiving, it's just part of this holiday. It's a weird holiday. Like, Christmas always has so many redeeming points to it, even if you get disappointing gifts, even if there's a fight breaks out, or if someone's not talking to someone, or someone didn't show up, or someone did show up late and drunk, at least there's like the redeeming parts to Christmas, like there's the cheerful music, there's the lights, there's the eggnog and the extra alcohol if you need it. There's always the cousins out back with the weed, at least in my experience. But there's always something, even if you open presents and it's not something you like, it's cool because you got to open a present, you know what I mean? And the food is good. It's better than Thanksgiving. There's cookies. There's always cookies at Christmas. Oh my God, good cookies. Sugar cookies with frosting. I used to make sugar cookies with frosting for Santa. And of course, he's fat, so we have to make 3 dozen of them. And we only leave him like 4 cookies and a glass of milk. And and then the next, week or so, or 2 or 3, the kids and I would always have cookies, and my husband, that was our tradition. Last year, my son and I did actually leave cookies for Santa. And, actually, every year, I always bite the cookie. I always drink some of the milk, I woke up in the morning with my son and there was more of the cookie gone and more of the milk gone than what I had done, what I had staged, right? That was very weird. Okay, but I'm not going to tell you any more of my Christmas stories until Christmas because I got some cool ones, some cool doozy of story, miracle stories. Anyway, tonight we're going to read the egg story. It's a little bit of a bummer in the beginning part, but it's a really trippy and weird story, and I've been wanting to read it for a while, and so we're going to make this one probably a shorter episode than usual because it's the holiday and you're probably going to sleep anyway. You're all probably in a turkey coma, but for the rest of the people around the world who aren't celebrating Thanksgiving and eating weird and gross food and being ignored and or yelled at and or seated at the kids' table, which is insane. Seriously, it's one of the weirdest holidays we've got, actually. Because we all have strange and weird and mixed memories of it. And I've got a couple good memories. Going with my mom and grandma and the year that I decided to be a vegetarian and bringing them a tofurkey. Oh my God. Seriously, can I go to hell for that? Because that was the worst thing to eat, ever. It was so gross. At least I tried it one year. Never again. Ooh, it was nasty. But, all right. If you ever had a tofurkey, you know what I mean. And if this is your first year having that, now you know. Did any of you have a turducken? A duck stuffed inside a chicken, stuffed inside a turkey, and all baked together? I've never had that. I heard that one, so I was like, what the hell? Or the deep fried turkeys? Ugh. There's already, my son said, the last big family gathering we had, when Grandpa came over, he almost died from your cooking. I'm like, yeah, I do put a lot of butter in it, and he had to have his gallbladder removed after my meal. So much butter in the meal. And then we had to have the dip with the chips, and yeah, and the biggest family gathering I had before my kids were born was at my cousin's house. It was the husband, wife, and their son, and his wife, and his daughter, and my grandma, my mom, and me. And we were watching my uncle, or I think he might have been, it was my uncle. I don't know what he was. Cousin, I guess. He was already super overweight and clearly unhealthy person anyway, and he was eating the chips and the dip and it's sour cream with onion dip mixed in with a lot of sodium, and then you're eating the potato chips, and it's freaking good. It's so good. It's a tradition, you sit there and you eat and you eat and you eat more and more, and you have massive bags of chips, and you have 4 or 5 bags of chips all together, everyone together, right? 4 or 5 different kinds of chips. We've got 4 or 5 kinds of dips. We're chips and dips, and then we eat. Well, the next day he had a heart attack, went to the hospital. 2 weeks later he died. 1 year later, to the very day that he died, his son died, who had been there that night, and he was in great shape, but he died. And funny, he had HIV. We always thought he would die of AIDS, and he died in a car accident. Very weird. And so I'm like, yeah, all the massive family gatherings always result in a death, usually to do with the food, though. So 2 out of 3 times, usually to do with the food. It's a dangerous meal. It's a disappointing meal. It's an insane meal. Why do we eat this weird, gross food? It's weird. But we all eat it, and we all love it because it reminds us of our past that we think we love until we get there, and then we start remembering all the weird shit that happened before. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for this experience tonight, for having all the insights I'm having right now, and I'm thankful for everything. And I told you guys last night, I'm thankful for you guys, and I'm thankful especially that I had 30,000 listens to my show since January. It's low, I think, for me, but I'm happy. It's like, hey, 30,000 listens. Now I have a regular audience of around 100 people. You guys are my tribe, so hey, thank you for coming back and listening again and again and telling other people. It's growing slowly. I'm happy about that, so thank you. But the 30,000 listens, I'm really grateful to that. And Jude D. Koff got his first voice comment was sent to him. He was like, wow, and it happened on Thanksgiving, so he's like, that's so cool. I'm like, he's like, I got my first fan mail, and it was a voice message about Thanksgiving. So he's really happy because he's having a really crappy time. So he's like so happy. At least something positive happened. Like, oh, I'm here with you, babe. I'm always going to be here. I'm like, so you got me now and I love you and I'm here. No worries. So I'm like his lifeline. Do you hear it now? Do you hear it outside? Seriously, now it's like freaking jackhammer. It's 12:30 a.m. No, really, you know what? I'm gonna open the windows so you guys can hear this. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. Just so you guys could hear what I'm dealing with. Do you hear this? It's not even a jackhammer. It's some kind of machine where they're going to paint all of these, I guess they're crosswalks in this dangerous intersection finally. Oh, and here comes a car to run over the fresh paint. That's going to be a lovely mark. But yeah, this is what I'm doing at 12:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving, or the day after, the aftermath day, Black Friday. Oh, and here comes a whole long line of cars going, what the hell? Remember when I said this? I did. I said this. I think they should work at night when there's less people going to and from work. And here they are. They're measuring everything out with strings. they're doing a really good job, actually. It's kind of exciting for them to be out here at night. Nice, crisp, chilly weather, and they all have hoodies on or hats. One guy doesn't. I feel sad for him. He has a freshly shaved head. I bet he feels a little bit upset he didn't bring a hat. There you go. There it is. So that's what I'm competing against now. Usually it's the occasional motorcycle or the beep beep, which always seems to be an affirmation or confirmation of what I'm saying, which is always awesome. You should love yourself more. Beep beep, you know. Yeah, well, there you go. That's what it is. All right. I didn't put in the first half, but wasn't a whole lot going on as far as Schumann Resonance news is concerned. We've got Disclosure News IT. They had a 9:30 in the morning statement. They said today's chart shows a condition of calm, a single light and isolated movement around 23 UTC yesterday brought the amplitude to power 12. 12 Hertz frequency, not much. And then in the 1700 report, little to report, except that the source image in the afternoon stopped at 13. All right, there you go. So, stopped at 13 UTC. So it went to a whopping 12. And there was a massive, just big chunk that just couldn't be seen. Heartmouth.org. Sorry, this data is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later. We are in a turkey coma. Okay, it doesn't say the turkey coma part. That's it. Not much. So, let's see here. Now, still in Mercury retro shade. This is like ridiculous. Can you hear? It's like so freaking loud. And as far as A Course in Miracles.org, we're now in review. So I'll read a little bit of this. Review 5, the 5th review, so that's nice. We now review again. This time we're ready to give more effort and more time to what we undertake. We recognize we are preparing for another phase of understanding. We would take the step completely that we may go on again more certain, more sincere, with faith upheld more surely. Our footsteps have not been unwavering. Our doubts have made us walk uncertainly and slowly on the road that this course sets forth. But now we hasten on, for we approach a greater certainty, a firmer purpose, and a surer goal. Steady our feet, our Father. Let our doubts be quiet, and our holy minds be still, and speak to us. We have no words to give to you. We would but listen to your word and make it ours. Lead our practicing as does a father lead a little child along a way he does not understand. Yet does he follow sure that he is safe, because his Father leads the way for him. So we do bring our practicing to you. If we stumble, you will raise us up. If we forget our way, we count upon your sure remembering. We wander off, but you will not forget to call us back. Quicken our footsteps now, that we may walk more certainly and quickly unto you. And we accept the word you offer us to unify our practicing as we review the thoughts that you have given to us. This is the thought which should precede the thoughts that we review. Each one but clarifies some aspect of this thought, or helps it be more meaningful, more personal and true, and more descriptive of the holy self we share and now prepare to know again. And this is the main idea for this part of the review. God is but love, and therefore, so am I. All right, that's weird. That part just disappeared off the page. I didn't even touch my computer at all. Close my eyes for a minute, and I think I just hopped a timeline where they're still working on the road. All right, scrolling back down to where that part was. I'm telling you, it's like all of my electronics have been freaking out for the past week or 3. My son opened the back of my phone. He's like, what the hell happened to your phone? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, there's no batteries in this whole town that match the battery of your phone. This is weird. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm going to have to buy a new phone. He's like, yeah, you're going to have to buy a new phone, Mom. I'm like, yeah, it's true. Absolutely true. It's been plugged in this whole time, so I'm still on 100%. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do the show. Just from now on, I'm going to have to sit on my little tiny bench that I painted like a mushroom. And I'm going to have to read the stuff or do the show from a non-comfortable position, but I'm okay with that, just as long as it gets done, right? Anyway, here's the thought. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. The self alone knows love. The self alone is perfectly consistent in its thoughts. It knows its creator, understands itself, is perfect in its knowledge and its love, and it never changes from its constant state of union with its Father and itself. Do you guys think that Thanksgiving's possibly been cursed somehow, since it's kind of cultural appropriation by taking all of the food from the people we forced onto reservations? I'm just thinking, I just, spitballing here, thinking out loud a bit. It just seems like almost every single Thanksgiving has been doomed, although some of them are super funny memories, even though a lot of the parts of it are kind of doomed. My son said to me, he's like, while we're eating, he's like, I haven't had Thanksgiving in a bar since the last time we saw Aunt Sarah. And this was like before we left, literally 6 years ago, before we left the States to go live in other countries and travel around. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That is very strange, isn't it? He's like, yeah. He's like, remember we were in the bar and they wanted to stop serving food and only alcohol, and they made us eat really fast and kicked us out. So again, either treating us like crap or ignoring us, And my friend, it was such a hilarious day. She kept going, I'm not hungry at all. I'm only going to have this. And in fact, you guys are going to have to help me eat mine because I'm not hungry at all. And then she proceeded to eat not only all of her own food, but then she started picking off our plates. And then she's like, it's so weird. I feel like I'm maybe hungrier than I thought. And then like a couple hours later, she's like, it's Thanksgiving. Let's go get Thanksgiving food. And we're like, we're full. We had the bread bowls. It's a giant loaf of sourdough bread filled with like chicken soup or tomato soup. I think my son and I had tomato soup. And in San Francisco, the Sourdough Bread Company, the most amazing place ever, right on the water. One of the most magical Thanksgivings we ever had. And she goes, I have to have Thanksgiving food. I can't live if I don't eat turkey. We got to have turkey. I'll share it with you. It's huge. These meals are huge at this place. We go to the place and they're like, we have one meal left and that's it. And we're like, that's fine, we'll share it. And they're like, well, we can't have kids in here. We're going to start serving alcohol. We're like, this is a restaurant. Just let us, we've eaten here before. Let us, in, please, And they were like, okay, fine. And so she shared like one bite with us and then ate voraciously the whole thing. After saying she's not hungry again. It was hilarious. And we were just like laughing the whole time. And I'd met this guy who was absolutely perfect for her. And I invited him to join us for part of the day, because he was going to be in town for only a little bit of time, but he had like 10 or 12 things in common with her that were like major things. And plus he was like super sweet, really sweet person. And I'd been talking to him for like 2 years or something online. So I was fairly certain he was a cool person. So he shows up, and so she had to pull my kids aside to complain about who's this insane person that I'm trying to date. We have nothing in common. We don't even look like a good couple together. And what the hell am I thinking? And blah, 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 blah. And why is he wearing so much cologne? What's wrong with him? And it was like hilarious because my kids knew it was a setup for her. And I was trying to get them together to talk. And she was like, oh, Lord, I don't like his cologne. And I agreed it was like too much. But still, it was like she was so rude to him. And then he made up a lie. And he's like, okay, I got to go. I'll talk to you later. And I never heard from him again. I think for a couple days we talked, and that was the end of it. He was just like, oh my God, it was like ridiculous. And she's like, why'd you invite that guy? He's not even your type. It's not even anything. I'm like, because he's your type. And she's like, he's not my type. I'm like, you didn't even take a chance to get to know him. He's every single thing you talked to me about every single day was everything he talked to me about every single day. So it could be very well that she let her soulmate go. But we were like laughing about it. My kids were like, oh my God, she's so impossible. Like, she's like, I have to go to the beach. Let's go to the beach. Let's drive to the beach. We all drive to the beach in her car. And we park in the parking lot. We're there for like 5 minutes. She's like, the beach is boring. Let's go. It was just like every part of the night was like completely ridiculous and hilarious. We were laughing our butts off, but that was a really good memory for me too. And so we had some wonderful memories my kid and I shared tonight about, Thanksgiving, but I don't know, our November is like the worst month ever. It really, really is. When my husband died, he died the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and so that was like the worst Thanksgiving ever. It was the first holiday after his death, so every year we think about that. And he was buried the day after. So today, by the time you guys get this, it's going to be Friday, and Friday is the day that I buried my husband 9 years ago, or 10 years ago. 9 years ago now. But it was 9 years, and it was like 9 years ago. Yeah. About almost to the day. The day that, and I didn't bury him. I didn't have anything to do with it. They buried him. They picked all the cardboard box. He was buried in a cardboard box with holes in it like he was a hamster that needed to breathe. It was so ridiculous. They put a plastic flag on his grave, like from Walmart. If I had been charged, even though I was his ex-wife, I would have had him buried in an honorable discharge military cemetery in Sacramento, and I would have had a 21-gun salute with a real flag issued by the military. That's what I kept trying to tell them, and they kept going, so what, screw off, you're the ex-wife. And so they buried him like a hamster with the cheap-ass $3 flag, and they said this goes to his heirs. And in front of my children, his mom said, no, it goes to me. Like, my flag, I bought it. It's like, dude, I could buy my own flag. It was a gesture of this goes to the kids because it's laid on his grave. So we have that memory to contend with today. Seriously, wake me up when November ends, right? My son went to bed early, just so upset. And I think these are the memories that are now flooding back for him as well. My oldest son said, I freaking hate this holiday. I hate the food. It's disgusting. And I'm only focusing on politics and Leonard Peltier today. And I don't know. He's like, I can't. Why? He's like, I hate this. It's like the crappiest month ever. October is super amazing because it's the fall and the Day of the Dead and the Halloween and the costumes and the candy and oh my God, it's so fun and exciting and a little spooky and a little creepy and fun, thrilling. And Christmas is wonderful. It's light and bright and peaceful and snow everywhere and beautiful. And Thanksgiving is this really strange and awkward holiday wedged in between of these other awesome days. Oh yeah, it's like we got through it, guys. We did it. We're here. We're still standing. Might be still standing here with a little bit more emotional wounds, but we got through it. My son says to me, can we just go and have Indian food next year and do something totally different? I'm like, yeah, you know what? It might be time. Like, we could do Chinese. I'm like, no, wait, that's for Christmas. Chinese food is a Christmas deal. If you don't feel like cooking, Chinese food is the best. We used to go to Chinatown in San Francisco for Christmas. And if you forget to pay cash, they get really mad at you, and they will hold your kids hostage while you go to the ATM. I mean, in case you ever find yourself in that situation, there's a little bit of a tip for you. All right, guys, I'm gonna read for you the egg story. It's a story by Andy Weir. It's not a true story. It's just kind of how he thinks about life and death and what happens to us. And it's an interesting thought. So we're gonna read this one. My friend told me he's not too religious, he's not too spiritual, but he read this story once. He said, you know what? I think that's what I believe in. I always like to hear what people believe in, what's going to happen when we die. You know, like, I'm obsessed with death. If you guys ever look at my chart, you could be like, oh my God, how are you A, not dead already, and how are you B, not constantly talking about death? And I know I do talk about it a lot, having been the original angel of death and also a death walker. I'm a world walker. I go between the worlds, and even on this show, I've had people that I sent to the other side a couple different times. So, but it seems appropriate because this time of year where the leaves are falling off the trees, they appear as dead. A lot of plants are dying because of the ice cold temperatures in the snow, unless you're in Georgia where you're like burning up right now. Sorry about that, guys. Like, seriously, it's like a time for mint juleps in the South right now. It's like super hot. It's sweltering. Time for lemonade, iced tea. It's crazy. I think I'd be drinking fuzzy navels all day long if I was like having to deal with somebody else's family for the holiday and they're like treating me like crap. I'd be like, I think it's time for me to be just like drunk for 4 days. This is a 4-day drunk. This is like a bender. As in, you keep bendering your elbow until it's swollen or something. I don't know. All right, this is The Egg, and by Andy Weir, spelled W-E-I-R. And this is what it is. It's very short and simple, but this is it. You were on the way home when you died. It was a car accident. Nothing particularly remarkable, but fatal nonetheless. You left behind a wife and 2 children. It was a painless death. The EMTs tried their best to save you, but to no avail. Your body was so utterly shattered, you were better off, trust me. And that's when you met me. What? Wait, what? What happened? You asked. Where am I? You died, I said matter-of-factly. No point in mincing words. There was a truck, and it was skidding. Yup, I said. I died? Yup, but don't feel bad about it. Everyone dies, I said. You looked around. There was nothingness. Just you and me. What is this place? You asked. Is this the afterlife? More or less, I said. Are you God? You asked. Yup, I replied. I'm God. My kids, my wife, you said. What about them? Will they be all right? That's what I like to see, I said. You just died and your main concern is for your family. Ah, yeah. That's good stuff right there. You looked at me with fascination. To you, I didn't look like God. I just looked like some man, or possibly a woman. Some vague authority figure, maybe. More of a grammar school teacher than the Almighty. Don't worry, I said. They'll be fine. Your kids will remember you as perfect in every way. they didn't have time to grow contempt for you. Your wife will cry on the outside, but will be secretly relieved. To be fair, your marriage was falling apart. If it's any consolation, she'll feel very guilty for being relieved. Oh, you said. So, what happens now? Do I go to heaven or hell or something? Neither, I said. You'll be reincarnated. Ah, you said. So, the Hindus were right. All religions are right in their own way, I said. Walk with me. You followed along as we strode through the void. Where are we going? Nowhere in particular, I said. It's just nice to walk while we talk. So, what's the point then, you asked? When I get reborn, I'll just be a blank slate, right? A baby. So all my experiences and everything I did in this life won't matter? Not so, I said. You have within you all the knowledges and experiences of all your past lives. You just don't remember them right now. I stopped walking and I took you by the shoulders. Your soul is magnificent, beautiful, and gigantic, more than you could possibly imagine. A human mind can only contain a tiny fraction of what you are. It's like sticking your finger in a glass of water to see if it's hot or cold. You put a tiny part of yourself into the vessel, and when you bring it back out, you've gained all the experiences that it had. You've been in a human form for the last 48 years, so you haven't stretched out yet and felt the rest of your immense consciousness. If we hung out here for long enough, you'd start remembering everything. But there's no point to doing that between each life. Well, how many times have I been reincarnated then? Oh, lots. Lots and lots. And into lots of different lives, I said. This time around, you'll be a Chinese peasant girl in 540 AD. Wait, what? You stammered. You're sending me back in time? Well, I guess technically, time as you know it only exists in your universe. Things are very different where I come from. Where you come from, you said. Oh, sure, I explained. I come from somewhere else. And there are others like me. I know you'll want to know what it's like there, but honestly, you wouldn't understand. Oh, you said, a little let down. But wait, if I get reincarnated to other places in time, I could have interacted with myself at some point. Sure, happens all the time. And both with both lives only aware of their own lifespan, you don't even know it's happening. So, what's the point of it all? Seriously? I asked. Seriously? You're asking me for the meaning of life? Isn't that a little stereotypical? Like a little on the nose? Well, it's a reasonable question, you persisted. I looked you in the eye. The meaning of life, the reason I made this whole universe, is for you to mature. You mean mankind? You want us to mature? No, just you. I made this whole universe for you. With each new life, you grow and mature and become a larger and greater intellect. Just me? Well, what about everyone else? There is no one else, I said. In this universe, there's just you and me. You stared blankly at me. But all the people on Earth, all you, different incarnations of you. Wait, I'm everyone? Now you're getting it, I said with a congratulatory slap on the back. I'm every human being who ever lived or will ever live, yes. I'm Abraham Lincoln. Well, yeah, you're John Wilkes Booth too, I added. I'm Hitler, you said, appalled. And you're the millions he killed. I'm Jesus, and you're everyone who followed him. You fell silent. Every time you victimized someone, I said, you were victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was or will be experienced by you. You thought for a long time. Why? You asked me, why do all this? Because someday you will become like me. Because that's what you are. You're one of my kind. You're my child. Whoa. Whoa, you said, incredulous. You mean I'm a god? No. Not yet. You're a fetus. You're still growing. Once you've lived every human life throughout all time, you will have grown enough to be born. So, the whole universe, you said, it's just an egg, I answered. Now it's time for you to move on to your next life. And I sent you on your way. And that's it. I don't know. I mean, I don't believe this is how it is. Okay, I just asked God, and God said, no, it's not how it is. But what if it was? I mean, you know, this is trippy. It's a trippy story. The egg universe. But having said that, I don't believe that's how it really works. But I know that we can go back in time. We could go forward in time. We can relive the same life over and over and over and over again. And that's where we get possibly deja vu. We're remembering the future. I know I've lived this life and come back and relived it. I know that I've died. I know my kids and I have died a couple times together, and we said, oh, screw that, we're coming back. Start over again. Come back to that point and like live through the experience versus die in that experience of where we did before. We might have all died in 2012, December 21st, 2012. We might have all died in a mass nuclear holocaust. We don't know. And we could have all died and decided, well, screw that, we're coming back. We come right back where we picked up where we left off. Or relived it from the beginning and decided this time not to die. We went to a different timeline. It's quite possible. A lot of people are believing that this is what happened. These are really deep and really trippy ideas. I don't think we live every single person's life. Because I know that God sent us all out and we're just sparks of the great divine. The way I look at it, it's like a really hard, almost like a wiffle ball. I'll say like a bouncy ball, but more like a wiffle ball. But it has, instead of big holes, instead of the wiffle ball being small with big holes, the wiffle ball is really big and has small holes. And there's a big light like a sun inside of it, and it's shining out in every direction. Little teeny tiny pinpoints of light. And every single one of those represents our souls, and there are unlimited amount of them. And the light source at the center never stops giving the light source to the small pinpoints. The light source in the center is God, and the little pinpoints are us. And one day we're going to all go back to the source. And when we go back to the source, we'll get to see everybody's experiences of being a pinpoint of light. And we will have knowledge of everybody inside us as if it was us. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've had experiences recently in the past couple years where I could look at people and I see them. And then I see their lives and I hear their thoughts and I know their feelings, and I've gone so far as to stare at somebody for a full 2 minutes and I suddenly know what it feels like to be inside their body, and I've almost projected into someone's body and I feel their experience from their perspective. I've heard people's heartbeats and I've felt their breath. I try not to do that too much. I don't want to freak anyone out. One time I did that and it's like I couldn't help it. My spirit just went into someone's body immediately. It was only for like a split second. And then I came back. I was like, what the hell am I doing? That's like so invasive, right? Whoa, that was a really trippy thing. And as soon as I slammed back into my body and I startled a little bit, I was like, oh my God. I mean, I had her cell phone in my hand, and it's like suddenly I'm a teenager and I'm in this skirt and this shirt and I have this black hair cascading down my right side in a ponytail, and it's like I was her. I felt her sorrow, her joy, how much she loved her mom, how she dreaded having homework, how she wished her best friend would get back to her about a boy she liked. You know, like I knew her experience in a heartbeat, at least in that moment. not all of it. If I had stayed longer with her, I would have known a lot more. But I was like, that's so invasive. Like, I don't want to just automatically know everybody like that. But I've had these experiences where I can become anybody I want, even if it's for a few seconds, and I will understand and know them. Like it describes here in the egg story, dipping your finger into water. Now you have the experience of that water and where all the water came from. Mitakue o yasen. We all are one. In Lakech, I am another yourself. One love, one heart, one mind. Let's get together and feel all right. You've heard all of these before, especially the Bob Marley one. We all are one. We are all 100% together. And yet we appear separate. And one day we'll be together again and we'll be like, woo, this is so interesting. I liked Andy Weir's take on this, even though I don't 100% agree with this as being the absolute correct truth, but it's trippy as hell, isn't it? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, tonight it was a turkey and then the egg story. But I wanted to share it with you. It's something I've been wanting to read for a while to you guys. It's really freaking weird. It's really trippy. It's just one of those really wild stories. It kind of sets you on a path of thinking for yourself and thinking, how is it really? I gave you guys my idea of how I think it is. You know, you live so many lives. You don't live billions and billions, but I feel like you do live for billions and billions of years with a lot of downtime on the other side, and you spend downtime on the other side of various planets where you came from. And we all have a home planet. Might not be Earth. I feel very close to Earth. I feel like this is my planet, but maybe it's not. I don't really know. I know I've been all over the universe now. I've discovered it recently. Thank you, Jude DeCoff, for that. The creator, founder, director, producer, editor of the Starseed Perspective podcast. A lot of you have checked it out, so I want to thank you for that. His story is trippy. He's a trippy person. He does one episode a week. You know, so it's not impossible to hear mine and his every week, so it's pretty cool. And I listen to his too. I don't agree with everything that he says, but what's beautiful about it is that everybody has a different path. Everybody has a different way of looking at things, just like Andy Weir has a different view of what God and the universe and our souls are, or our soul. You know, we are really like we're all in this together. We all are one. I mean, you can't leave one person behind. Oh, forget you. I mean, it's just like saying, well, you know, I'm going to go to Thailand for the vacation coming up. But you know what, Big Toe? You haven't been serving me. You have a fungus on your nail. I'm going to leave you home. It's impossible to do that. I'll pick you up when I come back. You better not have a fungus on you when I come back. You can't do that. That's insane, right? So why do we want to leave anyone behind, even if they're quote-unquote bad? Not bad, they're just brain damaged or asleep. You know, and I'm not saying brain damage in a joking way, because Daniel Amen's research has said that, you know, and I might do a Daniel Amen episode, but he says, you know, anyone who's angry or depressed, or children that grow up hurting small animals, those people are brain damaged, and we can stop that from getting worse or leading into something horrible, or landing them in prison. In fact, most of the people in prison have damaged brains. And again, it's not a slam against anyone. It's just a viable scientific fact. And so there aren't really any bad people. There's only people that are traumatized and brain damaged. We can't leave them behind. Not any more than we can leave behind a toe we're not happy with. Sorry, we're going to Thailand. We're going to be wearing flip-flops on the beach. And we can't be having you embarrass us. So we're going to leave you behind because of your funky toenail. Hope no one sees my foot without a toe. We can't do it like that. We can't do it. It's impossible. So like we can't leave a fungus toe behind, we can't leave bad people behind either. So even though they're probably, for a time, they will be moved to a different planet. A lot of people have already been moved, I think. Muscle testing says yes. And more will be moved again in December. Muscle testing says yes again. And from our perspective, it might be kind of a sad tragedy or something, but it's okay because there's no one, not one hair on your head, not one molecule or atom or cell in your body is forgotten about. Nothing. Not one atom is lost in this universe, ever. So we are going to be all okay, and we're all one, and we're never going to not be all one, It's just for now, it looks a little different. And picking up the pieces of our lives, as it were. Yeah. Like we're all pieces of God. But it's all good. It's all good. We're learning and growing and understanding and using this time as an exercise of understanding ourselves more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the egg story, and I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And if you did not have a good Thanksgiving, I hope that my emotional pain that I've been telling you about how awkward my Thanksgiving was can maybe bring you a little bit of mirth. You can laugh at it a little bit if you want. I know I did. My son and I he went to bed early. He was like depressed. He's like, this is just depressing. Like, it's like, yeah, I know. I feel the same way. I mean, he's like, I wish I was coming home to someone. I'm like, well, why wouldn't they go to Thanksgiving with you? Oh yeah, the awkward Thanksgiving dinner. It's awkward. Next year's could be different, because it's going to be Indian food. Or it's going to be made in the house. In one way or the other, because it's just ridiculous. Thanksgiving. We got through it. We have another Christmas coming up. Ojalá, they say in Spanish. Inshallah, they say in Arabic. As God wills it, they say in English. God willing and the creeks don't rise, they say in parts of the U.S. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through Christmas. We're going to get through Hanukkah. We're going to get through Kwanzaa and Diwali. I think Diwali might have already happened, so forgive me if it's already happened and I'm saying that we're going to. We just did, maybe. We're going to get through our holidays. And we're going to and then that's going to lead us right on into the new year, where it's going to be absolutely incredible. Astrology is just ripe for us to have the lives of our dreams. I think we're going to do it. What do you guys think? All right, that's it. That's all I got to say about that. I love each and every one of you. I want to thank you for liking, subscribing, favoriting, and forwarding to all your groups on Facebook, Instagram, and what have you. Your mailing lists and what have you. Thank you for helping me get the word out about Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. I'm really grateful to each and every one of you. I love you guys, all of you. in all the countries of the world, because we all are one, after all. We're all part of the same energy. So there you have it. So that's it. Signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys. Peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.